Alright, let's get started. In this video, we're going to be covering options of what King is supposed to do with his back turned towards the wall. I'll talk about what to do kind of in general options, and then we're talking about more advanced options of how to get off the wall and basically not be in that bad position. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so this is what I'm talking about when King or you're against the back of the wall. It really limits a lot of our options. We can't kind of back up and create some distance, and a lot of the times when we're in this position, it's when our opponent has just kind of finished the combo and then we block a mix-up or something like that, and then we end up in this type of position. And so because this is a very disadvantaged position, we want to know ways how to get out of it or what we can do with it. One of the first things that we can do is King has two really good options, which we covered previously, in which incorporate a lot of throws. You can either do up forward 2, and then you hold back, and you kind of can still spam out that 1+2, and we kind of get this wall splat in which we can combo from there, which is a very strong option. And this comes out as a 12 break. And then our other option is if we can perform a giant swing. It smashes the opponent into the wall for, again, massive damage, and then we kind of swap positions. And I was rethinking this position and playing some online matches and realized that versus good players, they're going to be able to break these throws. And so what are some of King's options of, rather than using these kind of power throws, what can King do to get out of this corner? And so the first thing that I wanted to look at is I set the opponent to actually break throws and see, oh, if we do giant swing, we go off axis a little bit, but we're still kind of at a backed position. They can still try to close this distance and try to keep us away while we try to kind of sidestep and become more of this neutral ground. We also have our up forward 4 kind of does the exact same thing. While we may create some distance away from the wall, we're still kind of slightly limited, especially if we want to try to sidestep left in this instance, or sidestep right if we're on the other side of the map. But it still kind of really limits our play of where we're trying to go. And so what I started to think about is, well, what throws do we have that even while broken can displace us? Our normal kind of 2+4 throw doesn't do anything. A lot of our command throws will just kind of sway real quick. But King has two different throws which will change position completely during a throw break. The first one is 1+3. When we try this, we get completely pushed out, and then we have free room to not only go left, but to go right, and then also back up, especially with walls that are kind of in a square position. But most maps are going to be able to create enough distance that not only do we have distance, and this is kind of where I feel King is strongest, because we have a lot of long reaching moves, but it creates us just off the wall, which is really critical. The other throw attempt that we have, which you're probably not going to use too much, but I just want to note it, is if we do the Jaguar spin into kind of the Mexican drive. That breaks our back and actually puts the opponents now back towards the wall. But if the opponent's applying pressure, they're not going to give us enough time to kind of do this sway and then go through the grab attempt. But just be wary of that. Even if you're applying pressure yourself, you don't want to be doing this move, because then you're going to throw yourself back to the wall. Same thing if your opponent's back is to the wall. Don't do 1+3 because it'll kind of limit our options, especially if the opponent is square up. We want to keep the opponent kind of there. Our other options outside of throws are just to kind of block and then create some pressure to at least create some distance, and then we can try to work the sidestep kind of game and break things up that way. If you're still kind of weak with sidestep walk, especially after they've done a move that causes a lot of pressure, sidestep walk, create the pressure, and then kind of start a normal jab game and pressure game and create distance. That's going to be kind of your best bet. But a lot of times, even in previous Tekkens, a lot of times I would play characters that weren't King, and a lot of times when my back was to the wall, I would go for the break, because if I succeeded, well, I got a throw off, and if I failed, well, now we got back to this neutral game, and with levels with walls, this is where I feel more comfortable to play. So this is always what I wanted to be at. So if I ever got pushed the wall and I created either a jab into a throw attempt, well, now we're in this even game where I feel a little more comfortable and that we can kind of continue on with the match. All I wanted to discuss during this video, in which all we talked about was using throw breaks from your opponent who is skilled enough to break throws, and actually escape walls with it. So rather than as a damaging tool, we're using this as an escape option. So if you liked what you saw today, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Hopefully you learned something, and we're going to see you guys next time.